People have been noticing I'm riding the Bloody Liquid mount from Echo of Lilith with the fresh meaty Barding Butcher mount armor on my solo hardcore Necromancer in Diablo 4. So, what if you could also do this and more by understanding your class better? For most players, this sounds absurd, but it's actually quite simple. All you need to do is grab something to drink and stay a while and listen. Just keep watching this video and playing the game, of course, and do not use shield or focus and all that garbage. Hi everyone, Master Necromancer Zeiss here with another video about Diablo 4 Necromancers. For those of you who do not know who I am, I only play hardcore Necromancers, well, mostly. Have over 1100 hours of gameplay, only hardcore Necromancers. I always stream my gameplay, all of it. And today I'm going to talk about a bit more about the second seasonal hardcore character for Season of Blood, the classic Diablo 2 Necromancer transferred to Diablo 4. Because people have been asking in comments, people have been asking on Discord, on live streams, they've been asking about damage and mechanics and all that. So this is what this is going to be about. I'm not gonna show off killing stuff, there's no need for that. If you wanna see me do things, you can easily come to a live stream. I usually stream every day at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's right, because I'm in Bulgaria right now, and that's where I'm playing from. So about maybe like 10, 11, that's usually where I play. When I usually play, till about the morning, maybe like 6, 7, 8, depends. Or sometimes I play more. You see me probably stream for the 30 plus hours. Anyway, let's get to the details. So what I'm using on this character is, let me jump from the horse so you can actually see the skills. This is Corpse Explosion, Bomb Prison, Corpse Tendrils, Decrepify, Bone, what was the the first skill? Splinters, I think. Yeah, Bone Splinters and Bone Spear. You've probably seen my latest short about Bone Spear and what probably people are not understanding, and why this item here, the Deathless Visage, is a build enabling unique. So the new thing about this is that the damage, the explosion damage it does, is increased by 5% multiplicatively for every 30% of your critical strike damage. So you have to make sure that this thing right here is very, very high value in order to do massive damage. And the most important thing is to make sure that the enemies are outside of your character's radius for a short distance, right? And like I explained on that short, let's see now, for example, this radius, right? This is where my character is, and the radius is about this big, like this large. So from the character to the top of the screen, where usually the health bar is, this is the radius you have to aim for, right? So aim for enemies outside of this radius. Why this is important? I'll repeat it again, because this is the most important part of dealing massive damage to your enemies, especially the boss ones, like the boss enemies. This is because on the way back, when the Bone Spear splinters, like splits into splinters, when you crit it fires 5, when you don't it splits into 3, right? And on the way back, 5 splinters hit, so that's the Bone Spear itself, and the 5 splinters, we have 6 attacks. And if the enemy is in the right position, you can deal damage with 2 explosions at a time. So that makes 8 hits per single cast. And if you have insane attack speed and insane critical strike damage, this is how this build will deliver a lot of damage. No shields, no blood mist, no bullshit. You just walk around, press a button, everything dies. Simple as that. And if they are harder enemies, probably use Bone Prison to keep them away from you so you can keep on delivering this massive damage. Alright? I hope that clears how the build works. Let's go into gear. Deathless Visage, absolutely necessary. Damage essence, damage reduction, and more damage for Bone Spear. There is no replacement for this, especially because of the explosions. This is what enables the build. Everybody knows that, most probably. Okay, so this is my defensive version for high nightmare dungeons, and this is why I'm using this defensive armor. Those things are really hard to get. It must have total armor, maximum life, damage reduction, and damage reduction from either close or distant. Because sometimes things will get to you, right? Especially faster jumping enemies. This is well combined with the pants, which has similar things. Total armor, maximum life, damage reduction from close, because we have from distant here. You can get distant on both, but I prefer to have both. You can kind of get away with using close and distant instead of damage reduction and close and distant. So for example, this will have total armor, maximum life, damage reduction from distant, damage reduction from close. Okay? Damage reduction from close, damage reduction from distance here. Why this damage reduction is so important? Because this damage reduction reduces damage after armor and resistances. Resistances are easy to cap. We know they're important, but most of the enemies deal also physical damage, which is sometimes really hard to avoid. And you have to be able to take those hits. Right? Let's get to the glove. Okay, critical strike chance is a must here. It's like one of the most important things. Because it's twice the value compared to rings. Let's see. Maximum here is 7.5. And this is 12. Okay, probably you can get 15 here. I'm not sure. I don't think I ever had. And the boots. Movement speed, a must. Fire resistance or cold resistance or lightning resistance here. I'll get into why. Essence cost reduction, a must. Corpse tendrils to reduce the cooldown of tendrils. Okay? The weapon, all stat to get those Paragon nodes bonuses. Intelligence to get damage and resistances. Vulnerable damage, this is important for harder enemies where your splinters return and hit them. So while they are made vulnerable, you can keep on hitting them with the bone spear itself, okay? And core skill damage. In this example, my core skill damage is low, but the higher the better, right? Let's get to the amulet. Movement speed, a must. Total armor, a must. Essence cost reduction, a must. And evolution to increase the damage, a must. In this case, I didn't get really good rolls, but it does the job. Rings. You can use here, what I'm using is critical strike chance, critical strike damage. We already explained why this is important. Physical damage and maximum life. So the life is a must, and you can get like different damage buckets here, or like I have in this case, critical strike chance. And the other one, as you can see, is again different damage buckets. Critical strike damage with bone skills, vulnerable damage, lucky hit chance, and maximum life. You can swap this one with the malignant ring, but make sure to have those things on the other side. Critical strike chance, critical strike damage, physical damage, and maximum life, because they are different damage buckets. So let's go talk about the aspects a bit now. As you can see, I'm using Edge Masters here, right, on this ring to increase my damage, because I'm restoring resource with my gloves. This is another key component of this build. You must have the chance to restore primary resource on your gloves or on your shield if you're scared enough to use a shield. But this is the other important thing. Critical strike, the helmet, and restoring resource. Why I'm using ossified essence on my gloves instead of on my amulet, for example, to further increase it? Okay, because I'm constantly using tendrils, and this is drop only. Right, this one, the aspect of serration is a drop only aspect, and once you get the best in slot glove, which is much easier than getting the best in slot amulet, I prefer to use this here. When I get the best in slot amulet, I might transfer this aspect, because I have it in my stash, to the amulet and put the tendrils here. But since we also get the malignant rings, doing it this way is also okay. Alright? What I'm using here is aspect of the protector for barrier when dealing with elites. Very important to reduce the damage, especially in high nightmare dungeons. Aspect of disobedience here, a must, because you need like 13,000 plus armor to be able to cap the physical damage from armor. And believe it or not, it's very easy to cap resistances, but the armor cap is really hard to get to, right? And this is contributing to the survivability together with Bomb Prison. But we'll get to Bomb Prison in a bit. On the boots here, I have this aspect of slaughter. This helps me move fast in town and also when dealing with enemies. Movement speed is something really important in this season because of the Vampiric Power, which grants you attack speed. And movement speed, like it or not, helps a lot to avoid getting hit. If you can move faster, it is harder for enemies to hit you. Think about this for a while. What would you rather have? Being able to take more damage or not being hit at all? Up to you. Right? The weapon here, I'm going with Ostat, like I said, to be able to get the Paragon notes. I explained the stats, but I put here the splintering aspect to get the most out of my main core skill, Bone Spear. Okay, the Grasping Vein Sphere, because I'm constantly casting the core tendrils in order to increase my critical strike and damage and to group enemies. I'm grouping enemies and then throwing the bone prison on top of them. So I fortify this way. And I get essence this way as well. I'm using Edge Master here, quite obvious. And here, also another important thing, especially for more difficult enemies with more health, to restore resource when hitting vulnerable enemies. That means first you have to make them vulnerable. Usually that's when the splinters return, okay? And this is how you can keep shooting at them. Probably you are very familiar with those things already. It's second season. Many people played Necromancer and talked about them, alright? So it shouldn't be something that hard to understand by now. This build also can work with Soulbrand, Temerity, instead of these chests and pants. And here, I forgot what the aspect was called, but I have the ring here somewhere. Not the Edge Master, I think it's this one. Yeah, that's conceited aspect. So it deals more damage when you have barrier, and if you combine this with where it is, Undying, yeah, if you combine this with the Undying and you make sure to constantly keep on casting, you will constantly have your barrier up, which means barrier takes damage before everything else, before life, before fortify, armor and all that. Damage gets absorbed. And if you can make sure that you can cast all the time, especially the basic skill, you will be protected all the time, but you will lose thousands of armor, and a lot of damage reduction and a lot of life this way, okay? So make sure to constantly have this barrier up. The second you lose it, you're dead. So not very hardcore friendly, like you see up there, right? Below the map, I only play hardcore. Now that this is gone, let's talk about this Book of the Dead. Here, critical strike chance, Here I have more essence, but you can go with increased damage to vulnerable enemies when dealing with harder bosses, right? This is more important here because it's multiplicative. And golems, of course, because we deal burst damage and critical strike damage, of course I'm sacrificing the iron golem, alright? About the skills, I usually go with this here, and I usually use the Acolyte's Bone Splinters, but why not using this time? Because of exhumation, we'll get to it, and I decided to increase the radius. This is very important for dealing with large groups of mobs. For example, with the new seasonal mechanic, the what was it called? About the vampires. Where it is? This one. Um, Something about hunt. Let's go see. I'm sorry, I forgot. Blood hunt or whatever it was called. And we will be able to demonstrate some stuff this way, right? Blood harvest, yeah. Okay, so curse, splinters, and what I'm doing is just holding the button for explosion to get fortified, and you can see the first enemy groups first group of enemies I fought and literally destroyed. I got more fortify, and this way I get more damage and damage reduction, and you know how it goes, alright? So here it's very easy to see about the explosions I was talking about. You just shoot and everything dies. And on the way back you see those explosions. They are 3, right? But if the enemy is here or here, outside of this radius from character to health bar I was talking about, this way the enemy gets hit from 2 explosions. Okay, so this is how to deal the most of damage. Okay, and maximum bone spear, maximum imperfectly balanced, we use this. Before we get the splintering aspect we can use this, but once we get it, respect to this. That's what I do, right? Corpse explosion wants to consume here the Grim Harvest to restore essence, and fueled by that to increase damage. This is Bone Prison to fortify, okay? Essence and fortify, really important to keep the fortify up all the time. Here I have Decrepify, and to reduce the cooldown, because the cooldown of Tendrils and Prison, this is the combo that I'm using, Tendrils and Prison. And this is really important to reduce the cooldown here. Amplified damage, a must, and this is Death Reach, a must, maxed out. And here is Tendrils, 1 point, but we get points from the boots, and this is how we increase the damage and reduce the cooldown of this. And this is also making them vulnerable. So makes it easier to deal more damage and to restore resource. These things are maxed out here, and especially Evotion, really important to get it from the amulet as well. And here the attack speed, really important. Now, I would like to talk about standalone a bit, because Bone Prison counts as 6 minions, and this is reducing your damage reduction. So it provides 18 damage reduction, but make sure you learn how to control the crowd with Bone Prison, because it will only provide 6 damage reduction in that case, right? 18 minus 12, 6. 6 is better than nothing, right? But you need to be able to control with Bone Prison very well. That's the key part here. And Memento Mori, of course, because we sacrificed everything, this is really useful here. And the actual damage dealer here, and really important, it got nerfed but it's still good, is Ossified Essence. The most important thing ever here in this build to deliver damage. I believe it's acceptable if they nerf it to 0.2. It will still be massive, because other builds cannot compete with the Bone Spear build. It's really hard. I mean, it's beyond comparison. and it bursts damage and kills everything really fast. Okay, let's go over the Paragon board a bit. I've modified it a lot. Okay, I will link to in the description about this, but initially I went here. You will notice where I don't pick the intelligence stats and pick the other main stats like dexterity and willpower. This is because I would like to meet the requirements for rare nodes to get the additional bonuses. That's why I didn't pick intelligence here. That's why I didn't pick intelligence here, and so on and so forth. So initially, of course, I got these as well initially, but as you progress and as you get better gear and other nodes which provide similar things, and if you cap out, you can respec those to get something else in return, which is more needed. Okay, here I have the amplify. I'm constantly cursing everything to reduce its damage, to slow it down, to deliver more damage to it, and trying to not allow it to touch me at all. This is also one of the reasons I'm not using a shield. I'm counting on Decrepify and crowd control a lot compared to a shield. I just don't get hit. That's the thing. Okay, I also initially have this damage here. Unfortunately, I can't have it right now because surviving is more important, okay? Here, the first thing I got is this, because it's very helpful for resource. I also got these nodes, but I don't need them anymore. I would prefer to move these points elsewhere. Right after this, I went straight here to get the damage, and then moved on to this because it's really important, the bone graft, and of course more damage. It will get important at this point at about level 60 something, right? Then I moved on to get additional armor and life, really important. I also got this, but respect it. From here I move directly to the glyph. Why I don't go to the glyph directly? Right, because this thing here, to be able to have resource initially, is the most important, and more damage and more resource and the more essence, okay? Because this is how you keep on fighting those enemies, by having more resource and more damage. Now we get to like level 70 something here. I got exhumation, really important because it fortifies and it also grants damage reduction. This is how I keep safe. I also here increase my resistances and damage, okay? It's also wise to have here sometimes, especially when bossing. You probably won't need this. I would put here Imbiber or something which in general increases the magic notes, okay? So you get more damage this way and more resistances if needed. Here I pick willpower. I will show you why in a bit. Then I moved on here to Scent of Death because it provides a lot of damage reduction and damage, right? So I went here, picked those, went here, picked this, then going straight to the glyph because getting the glyph here, which is corporeal, it increases the damage multiplicatively by 10%, which is a lot. And also bonus to magic notes. And guess what? I'm getting a lot of armor here. This is a significant damage reduction from armor and for physical damage, okay? Really, really, really important. Then, moving on to getting the armor here and more damage to vulnerable like this note, okay? And not vulnerable to injured, I'm sorry. Then moving on to getting this life here with shadow resistance. You don't initially need those two, probably not. And moving on to getting more damage here. Alright. Then I moved on to the left, got back here, moved on to the left, and I got this something really important here. I got the glyph first. The glyph here is essence. because at this point you start to need more damage, and it feels that you need more damage. Then I got this more damage and the legendary power here, the Flesh Eater. Another reason to constantly use the Corpse Explosion, because it fortifies, it grants damage reduction, and it also increases damage. And on top of that, because of this fueled by that, it increases damage a lot. So, Curse, Spear, Tendrils, Explosion. Okay? And with Tendrils, you trap everything in the bone prison. Course Explosion, use it as much as you can. Or you can use a Malignant Ring, it will do it for you. Alright. Then, why did I decide to go here, this way? It's a lot of armor, you see. For example, I sacrificed some points to get this armor, because this also grants me poison resistance, right? And armor. And because this is more armor, 100, I think I sacrificed some armor someplace else. Yeah, I think it's that one. No. Wait, it's life. Okay, to get there I sacrificed this life, this life, this life, and this damage. Because this is poison resistance, a lot of poison resistance, okay? That's 25. And because of a lot of intelligence, I also managed to get resistance and scap. Especially help because of this, with the help of this note here. So as you can see, I have 441 willpower, which is really important here. Another 3 to all resistances. Okay, this is why I'm mainly not aiming to get the main stat intelligence, but the other stats like willpower and dexterity. Right, so hope it makes sense now. This is how I'm able to get those bonuses, especially when having all stats on my two-handed weapon. This provides a lot of all stats, so you can get important and very valuable affixes on all your other gear, which is more important. The most common mistake I see on action RPGs is neglecting defenses, and then people wonder why they die. Well, it's obvious, but the glass cannon style of gameplay is more suitable for group play, and we're talking solo hardcore here. Okay. And the last glyph that I'm using is this exploit. I take it last because the only benefit I can get here is 10% additional damage. And if you have more all stat on your two-handed weapon, you'll probably be able to get this, right? It's not that hard to get it, but it's just 10%, that's all. Getting this is nearly impossible. It's a lot of willpower, but you can use this as well if you want. Again, instead something else. So let's explain the jewelry now. Because I am getting my shadow resistance from the Paragon, I am getting my poison resistance from the Paragon, I am getting all resistance again from the Paragon. I do not need shadow resistance and poison resistance on my items, right? So, to cap fire resistance, I got it on the boots. You can do it with, in this case, with either fire, cold, or lightning. Okay? The amulet provides all resistance, and I have the topaz here for lightning resistance and cold resistance here with this ring. It also provides poison resistance instead. Not only all resistance, but also poison resistance. And here this one provides cold resistance, and because this way I have the resistances capped, I can allow myself to put a skull here to get additional armor, right? This is why I am going with a skull, because all the resistances are capped. Alright. Here's some stats. Fire resistance capped, lightning, cold, poison, and shadow capped. This is easy to get. I repeat, okay? You can get fire, cold, or lightning resistance on your boots. Then you can put on your jewelry, respectively the other resistances, and you can get from the Paragon the shadow resistance, the all resistance, and the poison resistance. Really easy. Okay. This allows for placing skulls. For higher nightmare tier dungeons, if you know you will not be getting, for example in this case, lightning or cold damage, you can put skulls here. Because physical damage in high nightmare dungeons is very deadly. I mean, literally. Things can one-shot you if you don't have enough armor. That's usually around 13,500 or something with disobedience, because the enemies are much higher level and the damage reduction provided by armor needs to be capped for those enemies. This way you can take like 20 hits, okay? Otherwise they'll just instantly kill you. And believe me, having like 1000 life is worse compared to having a skull for 250 armor, especially when you have total armor on your chest, on your pants, on your amulet, or if you even have it on your helmet, which in this case it is not the case. It used to be total armor, I think, instead of damage reduction. But yeah, I hope it makes sense. This is really important for defenses to not die at all, right? And that's why I'm able to actually use a two-hander, because of the defenses provided by the helm, the chest piece, the pants, and the amulet. Look, it's very hard to, I know it's really hard to find good defensive armor and defensive pants with 4 defensive stats. But if you do that, you're pretty much safe. I think I managed to find like only 2 defensive armors and like 5 defensive pants. So make sure to look out for those. They are really important and they really make a difference. So did I miss talking about Vampiric Powers? Let's check them out. I'm using Sanguine Brace because of the critical strike chance mostly. Very important metamorphosis. This is what grants unstoppable and makes enemies vulnerable and shoots those souls, right? Really important, especially for CC. Prey on the weak, more vulnerable damage, always useful, and enemies are vulnerable while affected by a vampiric curse. This is Ravenous. Lucky hit to increase attack speed based on movement speed. So this is, like I said, the other thing why movement speed is very important. Not only to avoid being hit by moving around and evading here and there, but to also increase your attack speed. And this is the other reason why I don't have attack speed on my gloves. Okay, and this is the Hemomancy, really important to get early on to get faster leveling and pretty much delete the screen with the help of Hemomancy and Bone Spear together. So I guess that's going into details for Vampiric Powers. Before you get Sanguine Brace, you can use Undying, really useful. If you use Undying, you're probably not gonna use potions, but I prefer Sanguine Brace for the critical strike chance, and because the enemy is being hit by Hemomancy heal, you would probably not gonna need the Undying as much. So again, Sanguine Brace, Metamorphosis, Prey on the Weak, Ravenous, and Hemomancy. Yep, that's it for Vampiric Powers, I guess. I wouldn't go into much more detail because I would like to start my third character for Season of Blood already. And if you're interested in seeing that, if you enjoyed what you see, make sure to like this video or maybe subscribe to the channel so I can see you next time I play live. We can discuss more about the hardcore solo necromancers. By the way, those are really good gaming gloves, and I totally recommend. Make sure to check the link in the description. And I guess that's it, folks. Thank you again. If you enjoyed this, make sure to like the video or subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Zeiss out.